Let's go, girls.
Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe.
Go! It's WTF, Women Talking Football. Not to be confused with WFT. We are a pair of producers for Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Dave Campbell's Texan Live. We're the women, I should say. A pair of producers.
Correct.
My name is Ashley Pickle. I'm the executive producer. Sitting over there is our associate producer, Miss Mallory Hartley. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
It's been a long time.
I was sitting here, and I was waiting for the intro to roll, and I was like, it's not rolling. Why is it not rolling? And I was like, oh, yeah, all of our settings are all weird because I think the computer restarted a while ago, and we just haven't done WTF in like a month, so we haven't been able to re-update the settings. And I was like, oh, yeah, I feel very off right now.
Oh, yeah, I have to reset all of this. No, man, and just like completely pulling back the curtain and being completely honest here, the reason we haven't done it is we have not had time.
No, we've been so busy.
Very busy. Very, very busy. This is... What's funny about it is I almost don't even want to say that this is our busiest time of the year anymore, which seems crazy. It is. Mm-hmm. But there are 3 different parts of the year, and actually for us, basketball season is probably more busy than football season. Not for 16, 17 consecutive weeks, but the 5-6 weeks of basketball, or 4 or 5 weeks of basketball playoffs, mainly because there's girls and guys going on.
Right.
So it's like, that's why. But between playoffs, which means that we schedule every single stream that happens across the UIL, the regular day-to-day Dave Campbell stuff, and then the show, Texas Football Tonight, it was like we had no time to literally produce anything else.
Well, and I feel like, too, this is a lot different from the basketball season, too, is because now Ish has to keep up in depth on what's going on in the high school basketball world and the college basketball world because he's the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Basketball. Us, on the other hand, we don't necessarily we do keep up with it, but we don't necessarily have to come on here and talk about it each week like Ish and Matt Bruni do on their podcast, right? But for football season, it's very different. Like, you're very in-depth on the high school side. I do high school as well. We do college, and we have to keep up with that stuff. So that's why I think that this time of year is by far our busiest season in terms of content, because we have to keep up with all of that.
Yeah, the bandwidth is just different. Because during basketball or softball and baseball, when there's those crossover, the amount of like technical data that we're pushing and the scheduling and like the finite details of everything is definitely more intense than it is during the football season. But like you're saying, the bandwidth is just different because we not only have to do the technical pushing the buttons and all of that stuff, we also have to keep up with it. Because, man, like, that's the other thing. I can't tell you, like, I had to still, like, I have to be in tune with everything that's happening in high school and, like, going back and watching games and going back and rewatching highlights of stuff and all of that, because you can't produce a show like Texas Football Tonight if you're not immersed in it. Like, I can't sit here on TFT or WTF and talk about all this stuff if I'm not keeping up with it from a journalistic perspective. So we're kind of wearing the double hats of like journalistic perspective, but also behind the scenes person that no one really sees what we do on that side of stuff.
Right.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, and that's why we haven't been here.
Yeah.
In a month. So very, very glad to be back. This is definitely one of my favorite shows to do. I love ROF. I love Carter and I love Ish, but this one has my heart.
Nah, I'm glad to know. I might not rank a bunch like above a lot of people, but as long as I rank above Schmale and Carter, I can live with that.
We can
we
live
can
with
be
that.
the bottom 3 people of anybody's life, and that's okay as long as I rank above them.
You certainly do.
So this is episode number 57, and it's definitely, regardless, I know we haven't done a show in a hot minute, but it's definitely our favorite show to do, and that's because it is state semifinal week. We have made it. It is the final week before we punch 10 more tickets to AT&T Stadium. We have already punched 4 tickets technically to AT&T Stadium. The 1A matchups are set. Westbrook and Gordon in 1A D1. They will kick everything off for us. A reminder for state championships, Division 1 is up first this year. If you're not familiar with that, the UIL switches it back and forth every single year. A big portion of that has to do, and I might just be speculating here, but a big portion of that does have to do with giving people the opportunity, especially at the night games, to not always have to play in the morning or to not always have to play at night.
Right.
And especially, you think about 2A, because one 2A team's going to be playing on a Wednesday, which they've never played on a Wednesday before, and the other one's going to be playing
weird.
at 11 a.m., so it gives kind of that ebb and flow of all of the 2A games that are split, the 4A games are split. No, that's a lie. The 2A games are split, both 3As happen, the 4A game is split.
The 5A games are split as well.
Oh, not the 4A. The 4A is not. It's just 2A and then 5A.
Yes.
Those are the two that end up, one plays at night, one plays in the morning the following day.
Right.
So that kind of gives it that push and pull of, okay, you're not having to do this every single year, which for a lot of teams, you don't make it back to state every single year. So it really doesn't matter that much, but there are certain teams that does affect, like Alito.
Right.
Tends to play at AT&T Stadium a lot. They're in 5A now, so that's kind of the reason why. But, so those matchups are set. Oh, yeah. Westbrook and Gordon in 1AD1 and then 1AD2. You've heard of them before. Benjamin, the Mustangs, back with Grayson Rigdon, the do-it-all man. They're the best player in six-man football. And they will be taking on... Yeah, they will be taking on Oglesby, a program that will be a first-timer. So always really, really fun. But that means that since those matchups are set and six-man football is on their Super Bowl week, that there are 20 state semifinal games happening across the state of Texas in Class 6A all the way down to 2A D2. And we love to make predictions around here.
Yeah, we sure do.
We went back through on TFT today and did, from our regional final picks, how much we got right. Tepper and I were both at 50%. We got 20 out of 40 right. You had 21 out of 40. Step had 24 out of 40, and Ish had 19 out of 40. So
very close. All of us were very close. Yeah,
and then when it came to state champions picks that we still have in, Tepper and I were even 5 in, 5 out. Out of the 20 games per se. We didn't all pick up 1A. Step has 7 of 10 still in. I think you have 6 of 10, and that your Frisco Emerson pick
that was
in
mine.
Region 1 helped get you. That's what helped get you your one additional game up on us.
I think
and then Ish
also
had 5, I think 5 out of 10.
The one that you and I picked that kind of helped us too over the edge was the Anna pick too. So that was huge out of 4. Anna
instead of Stephenville helped a lot.
Yes.
There was a couple of, and just talking about playoffs in general, there's been quite a few big time programs that went down. The two biggest ones that I think really affected everybody, Carthage obviously going out. Refurio, kind of. That was huge from a regional perspective. That got a lot of us out of the region. But from a state championship pick, some people picked Timpson, some people picked Refurio. So that was one of them. And then the Kilgore loss hurt a lot of people.
Kilgore loss. And then also I could argue that Columbus, too. I think most of us picked Columbus to actually make it to AT&T Stadium and win it all. I think Ish picked Hitchcock in that one. But, of course, both are now out. So that one hurt us, too, a lot.
Well, and that's what's so funny, and we mentioned that when we did our big preview, our playoff preview on TFT, was the fact that none of us idiots picked the 2-time reigning state champ in Franklin to win that region. Now let's be very clear that 3A Division 1 Region 3 is a gauntlet. I mean, you could have gone with anybody from Columbus to Hitchcock to Lorena to Franklin. I mean, that's 4 out of the 8 teams that are in that region.
Right.
Just alone, Little River Academy was buzzing the bees were buzzing for a while.
Funny.
Like, that region is one of the deepest regions across the state. So it's like, okay, but that's what we all get for not picking the two-time reigning state champ.
You could also talk about that with 5A Division 2. I mean, I would say that's probably the deepest division in the entire state right now. I mean, all 5 of us picked different state champions, and the only one that picked the 2-time defending state champion was Matt Stepp, and he picked South Oak Cliff.
And guess what? He got it right.
He got it right.
And that's what,
you know?
Tepper said something about that on the show today. He said he was laughing. He was like, well, the only person that got it right was Stepp. And I was like, oh, I can't believe he got it right with the 2-time reigning state champ. We're all just too stupid to do it.
We're all too dumb to do it. It was one of those things where it's like, can they do it for a 3rd time?
Yep.
You know, like, I think we just all kind of overlooked that, you know, and we're like, oh, there's so many different contenders, you know,
and that's
but
the thing is,
that was tough.
There are certain divisions that I feel like are really deep at the top, and then it really kind of dies off.
Right.
It's really, really front-loaded, and it kind of dies off. I will agree with you that 5A Division 2 is so fun and what we would consider deep. It might not be the best talent across the state, like through and through,
right?
But what we do see is the gap between all of these good teams is so much smaller. Like, you look at 6A Division 1 and you're going, okay, we knew Duncanville and North Shore were going to be around the top, and then there's a couple other programs that are pretty good, and then it's the field.
Right.
You know, it's like 5AD2. This is the first time ever 5 of us picked a different state champion.
Yeah.
All 5 of us picked a different state champion. Do you know how hard that is for 5 people that do this and talk football as much as we do to pick a different champion?
Right.
Every single person?
Which is so fun to me. It just shows the parity in 5A Division 2, which I think has been one of the most fun regions to keep up with this entire time so far.
I completely agree. So, all of that being said, the stage is set as we go to punch 20 more tickets into AT&T Stadium. 20 games happening starting tonight. We've got 4 different games happening tonight. So tonight we will know the matchup for the 2A Division 1 state championship and the 3A Division 1 state championship. So both of those games are being played tonight. Then we have a whole slew of them tomorrow, and then all of the 6A games will be on Saturday. So that's our big state work day. We'll be up here watching the 6A state semifinals. But let's go ahead, and we're going to show y'all what our picks were, kind of point out where they're different, and then we're going to walk through each game and kind of talk a little bit about it. So we'll start off, I'll lead us off here with what my picks are. And there are some of these I felt really confident in, and then there are others where I felt absolutely, completely not confident in.
Yes.
Not because I don't think that there's good teams, because they're both so good. I don't know who to pick.
There is a lot of really good talent in all of these games, and it was so. I mean, I even texted you. I was like, "How the heck did you pick some of these games?" Because like, you could toss up a coin, and I'll just take that. You know,
110%. So starting off here in 6A Division 1, I'm calling it round 5. I think it's going to be Duncanville and North Shore. I think that Duncanville will beat North Crowley. Shout out to Ray Gates. Shout out to Ray Gates for proving me right in my regional pick too, because I said we took WTF took North Crowley over Prosper, I think. Or did you take Prosper?
No, Tepper was the only one that picked Prosper. All 4 of us picked North Crowley to win Region 1.
So they're rocking and rolling. We'll get into that game again. We'll get into the games in a little bit, but I think Galena Park North Shore will take down Austin Westlake, a matchup we've seen in a number of years in the state semifinal. But I like the 5th sequence. The 5th, I don't even know what that would be.
I love it.
Of the whole lot there. All right, moving down to 6AD2, we have a massively fun, exciting game. The Region 1 winners of South Lake Carroll taking on the Region 2 winners of DeSoto, and I've got to roll with the Eagles on this one. I think that the reigning state champs are going to come back and do it again. There's a precursor into what my state pick's going to be. If DeSoto wins this game, I think they're the favorite to be able to go in.
No doubt about that.
Then we have a Houston and San Antonio matchup in 6AD2. Humble Summer Creek taking on Cibolo Steel. This was really hard for me to pick.
Yes.
This one was really hard. I ended up going with Summer Creek. I'll give the example of why, but that one was one that was very difficult. 5AD1, I'm going the winningest program in Texas high school football from a state championship perspective. I think I almost said Tim Buchanan. Robbie Jones. And his Aledo Bearcats are going to come back, and I think that they will take on Smithson Valley after Smithson Valley beats Brownsville Veterans Memorial, the Cinderella program, into the state semifinal down there wearing the cape for the RGV. That's another one that's not necessarily super easy to pick just because of the Cinderella run that Brownsville Veterans is on. You almost feel wrong because you've picked against them every single week.
Right, exactly. But when does the luck, kind of fall behind the talent, in the playoff pedigree, and I think that might be this week, but who knows?
Then moving on down into 5A Division II, we'll have the winner of Region 1, Frisco Emerson, Mallory's beloved Frisco Emerson.
Let's go!
Taking on the winner of Region 2, the two-time reigning state champion in the South Oak Cliff Golden Bears. I picked against them to come out of the region, and that was dumb of me. I'm not doing it again. Coach 2 times is going to get mad at me. I ain't picking against him 2 times. I can tell you that.
No, I'm not either.
So give me sock. And then out of Region 3, it was the Port Neches Grove Indians. They'll be taking on the Panthers of Liberty Hill down there in Region 4. I'm going to go with PNG for a rematch of last year's state championship in 5A Division 2, where South Oak Cliff ended up beating PNG. Moving on down to 4A Division 1, maybe the game that I am not going to, but most excited about for this entire state semifinal round is Decatur and Anna. Decatur coming out of Region 1, Anna coming out of Region 2. I think that is a fireworks factory. If you're going to be anywhere in the North Texas area, go to C.H. Collins. It'll be a blast. I think Carter's going out there to that one. Very jealous. Very interested to see how that one turns out, but I'm going to give the Coyotes the nod there. And then the winner of Region 3, Tyler Chapel Hill, they'll be taking on San Antonio Davenport, another 2-year varsity program here for the in the UIL. Jeff Reardon, now's the time, my guy. He's been to this stage 3 different times in the last 3 years. This is the time I think it finally happens.
He's got the talent, too. I mean, I think they're just absolutely loaded on offense. They're clicking on all cylinders on defense as well. Yeah, I agree with you.
Then this one is one that I might regret because I usually never do this. Once I put down my first picks, I usually don't change them. I changed this one from last night to this morning. I didn't finalize the graphic. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going Gilmer over Glen Rose. I don't feel good about that. I think I should have stuck with my gut and went with Glen Rose. I changed it. I'll get into that. I don't feel good about it. And I think they're going to be taking on the Brahmas of Belleville after Belleville defeats Wimberley. 3AD1, I'm going Malakoff to beat Brock. We will actually be at that game tonight.
Correct.
So very excited about that. And I am going, again, I'm not going to do it twice. I'm going the reigning state champs of Franklin to take down Edna in the Region 3 versus Region 4 state semifinal. 3AD2. Gunner and Canadian. I
don't know either.
I don't know. I don't want to have to choose. We're going to that game in Abilene tomorrow. Super excited about it. Gonna take the Tigers. You never know with that one.
You don't.
Out of Region 3, it would be Dangerfield taking on Tidehaven. I'm gonna roll with Region 4. I'm gonna say I like this Tidehaven team, and so that's what I'm gonna do. Moving on to 2A-D1, another one that just, oh my God, this one was the one I sat here and mulled over forever. Toller and Stratford. I'll get into it. I'm taking the Snake Farm. They better not bite me in the butt. And then Timpson to take down Ganado. That one's out of Region 3, actually. I think I said that wrong. And then 2A Division 2, I'll get into this again. I thought about this one for a long time. Albany taking on Sunray. I'm going to throw what I know here and go with Albany, and then I think that Mart takes down Chilton. So there are my picks. We'll go through those in a second, but let's see where you differed.
Now, we pretty much had most of the same picks. There were just a couple that were different.
Okay.
So we'll kind of go through this quickly. 6A Division 1 is on par. Another Duncanville North Shore matchup there. 6A Division 2 is kind of the first where we differ. Again, I'm going with DeSoto. I think we'll get into it later, but they've got the playmakers, man. They're firing on all cylinders right now. And I went with Cibolo Steel.
I think it's a smart pick.
Man, that offense is just high flying, and I think it just might be too much for this Humboldt Summer Creek defense. But again, we'll get more into that. 5A Division I is on par as well. I'm not picking against Aledo.
No,
I think
you
they
do not bite the hand that feeds you.
I think they looked outstanding last week against Abilene, and I think that they are just a much better team than Forney.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, I'm going with Smithson Valley as well. 5A Division II. Not
Same
picking them
thing.
against them
No,
again.
I did
I
it once.
can't
I'm
do
not
it.
doing it again.
I can't do it. I actually chose Lovejoy to win.
Yes.
And so I realized
Wah,
very
wah,
quickly
wah.
last week that this sock team is not here to mess around.
No.
They're here to play. They're here to win
42
number
to
3.
nothing was a punch in the gut for
Yes,
you,
it
my
was.
friend.
Yes, it was. They put a fat donut on them. And then, yes, I'm picking them to maybe take on Port Neches Groves.
In a
That's
rematch.
also really a tough one, too, because when you look at their matchup against Liberty Hill, they also played last year, too, in
Oh
the
my God, yeah.
semifinals. So this would be literally another, if they were to beat Liberty Hill, this would be
Mhm.
kind of like that same storyline that they followed last year.
Yep.
In 4A Division 1, both
Same
on
thing.
par there, Anna and Chapel Hill.
Mm-hmm.
In 4A Division 2, same kind of thing.
We should have been different. I am regretting
Yeah. And you know,
not going Glen Rose.
you know the only thing that made me pick Gilmer over Glen Rose, because I think they match up very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the playoff pedigree
Yep.
that Gilmer has.
And
the
that's why I
experience.
ultimately went with Gilmer.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I'll get
Exactly.
into that because
Yes.
I've got some thoughts.
Yes. 3A Division 1, same. Malakoff, and then I picked Franklin as well out of the right side of the bracket. 3A Division 2, I picked Gunner. Again, coin flip game. I don't know what to expect from that game. Again, we're going to be there tomorrow night in
So
Abilene.
excited.
Very, very excited for that one, but I don't know what's going to happen in that one. Two really fun teams to watch. And then you picked Tidehaven, and I decided to go with Dangerfield. Another coin flip
Yes.
type game. Both of these teams are so much fun to watch. I think stylistically they're a little different. We'll get into more of that later. But I picked Dangerfield instead of Tidehaven to come out of the right side of the bracket in 3A Division 2. In 2A Division 1, this is where we differ too. You picked Toller, and I picked Stratford.
After
Which I
literally
am
last
shocked about. I am so shocked because you picked Stratford to win the region, didn't you?
week,
You've been on the
no.
Stratford train
No, I picked
Oh,
Toller,
okay.
but I picked Stratford. I
Or no,
sat
maybe I
there
picked-
and convinced you last week that I really, really thought
That's what it was.
that
'Cause we both picked
Stratford
Toller,
was
yeah.
going to beat Holly. And you were like, man, Tepper thinks it's the exact opposite. Like he thinks that Holly might roll, and I was like, I'm telling you. So
Yeah, that's
I'm
what
the
it
one that
was.
convinced
That's
you
what that was.
Stratford rocks, and now I feel like a liar. Because I didn't pick them.
Yeah, I
I
know.
went back and forth on that one so stinking hard. I should have.
That's another.
I hate predictions.
That's another coin flippy type game too. And then on the right side of the bracket, I picked Timpson.
Nah.
It's the year, man. I think it's the year of Terry Bussey. And then in 2A Division 2, we both align there with Albany and Mart. So very similar.
Yeah.
Picks.
So the ones
but,
that we had different were 6AD2,
Yes.
we
had
3AD2 and
281.
281. So there was 3 in total that were different. So I have a feeling we'll have pretty similar stuff to say. So we can start off here with you want to go smallest to largest?
Let's
or
go smallest to largest.
Smallest
I
to
like
largest.
that. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start off with 2A Division 2. So I told you I had morally conflicting things this morning looking at Sunray and Albany.
I was going to say because Armando Luan
Is my guy.
is your guy. And I don't blame you. Dude, 4,000 passing yards and
He's
60
insane.
touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. That is tough to pick against.
He's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid is just crazy. And so here's the deal. I had Sunray and I went back and I was looking and I was like, I don't know. I do think, and I don't I don't like to lean into the championship pedigree. I know we talk about it a lot. I don't like to lean into that too much, but it got me on this one because, and the main reason is in the playoff prediction show that we had on Texas Football Today, we sat there and you and I both said that we picked Albany to win the state championship for one very specific reason that we said last year.
Yep.
Go back and check the receipts. The reason that I stuck with Albany is because we said it, that Coach Denny Faith finally got that illustrious state title last year for the first time after coaching at the same school for 36 years. Why not ride off into the sunset at that point?
Exactly.
Because he knew this team had the chance to go back and do it again.
Right.
He would not have stayed for his 37th year of coaching after finally getting a state title if he genuinely did not think that this team could do it again.
Yes.
I've been preaching that since day one, and I had to stay true to my word, and I had to pick them. All of that being said, it would be unbelievable if Armando Luan walked out there tomorrow night. Tomorrow night.
I think 2A Division 2's tonight. Correct.
Tonight. Yes. Yeah, 6 p.m. tonight in Lubbock. And put the cape on his back and had the game of his life to get literal Sunray into the state championship.
Well, and I think
that would be awesome.
Well, and I think that's what absolutely has to happen because this Albany defense is playing out of their minds right now. They just look so dominant. And for me, I think I picked Albany, too, for the reason of they kind of had that guy in Adam Hill, their running back. And he's also a two-way player, too. He's really stepped up on both sides of the ball this year. He's bigger, he's better, he's faster than he was last year. I think that's kind of what gives Albany here the edge a little bit.
Yeah, I think the game plan going into this is Sunray wants to get into a track meet.
Yeah.
They want to score. They want Armando Luan out there, get him in,
Unleash
get him off.
it.
Yeah, just let her rip. I almost said Holly. Albany wants to take it slow, let Adam Hill just run down the clock and use their defense to put as much pressure on Luan as they possibly can. It'll be very interesting. I really wanted to go to this game. We weren't able to make it out there. But I ultimately went with Albany because I've been preaching it since literally the end of last year of saying we'll know how good Denny Faith thinks this squad is going to be if he comes back or not. Yeah. And he came back, and so I'm gonna write it in and say, okay, look, maybe this is the year that Coach Faith retires because he goes out and gets another one.
Right.
On the opposing side of the bracket, it is Coach Kevin Hoffman and his Mart Panthers taking on the Pirates of Chilton, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw my message in the Slack. It appears that Chilton sent Coach Hoffman and Mart Athletics a care package before the game.
Did they? I did not see this.
That had a basketball in it. Sent him a thing of basketballs.
No.
Chilton's hoping that they're playing at AT&T Stadium and Mart is blowing up basketballs next week, which, especially being at a small school, is just the funniest thing because
you can't start basketball
you really
season
can't,
yet, can you?
If you have a good football team in a 2A to 3A school, the chances of you having a really good basketball team are slim. Because all the same guys are playing, and you're not going to ditch trying to play for a state championship to go play non-district basketball. So, hysterical.
Yeah, it's funny. I want to see some of these records, too, these really good teams, because it's probably like 0-12, and then they hit district play, and it's just like undefeated.
Shabam.
Like, I want to see some of them. That's funny.
Exactly. Yeah, like if you're looking at it and they get to the state championship, and it's like, because you usually play like 24, 25 games.
Right.
If it's literally like 13-12 or 12-13, it's like, how are they here?
I know.
That's how. So anyway, we both went with Mart on this one. So we both agreed with Mart on that one. They were down 20-10 against number 5 Lady last week, heading into the half, and then went off to roll off like
47
points.
straight points.
Insane. The machine was back online. Chilton offense is looking great. Offense is firing, which was crazy because at one point we didn't even know if Chilton was going to be allowed to play in the playoffs because of stuff that was going on with the whole DEC and potential illegal players that ended up getting resolved and nothing was wrong. But this is exactly where Chilton wanted to end up. Ultimately, I went with Mart. I think that they have looked like the dominant team all year long. But the last last game was the first time we saw Mart get challenged.
Actually tested, right.
I think this is another massive challenge for them, but ultimately I think that the offensive weapons, and Mart's been playing really good defense too. I think that that'll be one of the toughest tests that a Chilton offense has faced
I
this
think
year.
so too. Well, and you kind of have to bring up the obvious here too. I think Temper's mentioned this before, but in recent history in this division, I mean, Region 3 has dominated Region 4.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a
Because
lot
Region
of
3
that
contains
is,
Mart.
I was going to say a lot of that is because Mart is there, and
Yeah.
they tend to just kind of coast by without any kind of repercussions in Region 3. But yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like I have to go with the Region 3 champ because of just recent history on that side of the bracket.
Well,
and I don't want to pick against Mart.
No, and that's the other thing is this is a revengeful feeling Mart.
Yes.
Last year Mart was young. They made it to the state championship and they were very young. And so one, these players have now, 15 more games under their belt.
Yeah.
So they've grown, they've matured a lot, and two, they want that revenge game.
Yes.
There's nothing more than they would love than another shot at Albany and said, no, that was a one-time thing.
Yes, this is a better Mart team than what we saw
yes,
last year.
yes.
And I think that this has potential to be a fantastic, tasty AT&T matchup.
I completely agree. And I think it's a really, 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 really good Albany team. I think they were a little bit more loaded last year.
Yeah,
They
right.
figured it out in the back half of the season. They looked just as good, but in the beginning part of the season, I was a little bit more concerned.
Yeah, right.
But they would love nothing more at a shot back at Albany, and that's what we think will happen. Moving on up now to 2A Division 1, and I am stressed.
Dude. Yeah, I am too. This is a stressful game because we saw Toller last
and they were
week.
rocking.
They were rocking. Running back Peyton Brown was fantastic.
He's like a 30-year-old man
you
out there.
Marlon couldn't do anything to tackle that dude.
No.
He's huge. He's a bulldozer. I mean, credit to Toller. They've got a great offensive line.
Yes.
I mean, they were able to block for him, create those holes for him to get through. Great offensive line. But man, he's just big too. Like they were just a bigger team in general over Marlon. I think their quarterback, Isaac Blessing, was fantastic.
Impressive.
And he was very, very impressive. And I think a lot of that, you just don't typically see that kind of size either at the 2A level. I mean, we looked at his size, and he was
he's listed at 205 and like 6'1". I think he's a little bit bigger than that. I think that might have been beginning of the year thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he's grown another inch and more around like 210, 215. He's a good size quarterback at any level, but especially down at 2A Division 1. He looked good, and he's got a good arm, but the difference for Toller is their ability to rush the ball.
Yes.
With him, specifically.
Right, exactly. Now, I picked Stratford.
Mm-hmm.
All of that, I wish I wouldn't have said all those things about Toller because I'm just like, man, this is a good team.
Yep.
But I'm going to stick with Stratford because much like we'll talk about with Timpson here in a second, they have their guy in Bryce Braden.
Yep.
He is the do-it-all guy for this Stratford team. He's absolutely fantastic. Now, he is the leading passer, the leading rusher. It gets better. You want more?
Oh, yeah.
The leading tackler, the leading sacker, and he leads the team in tackles for loss. This is light work. This is the do-it-all guy for this Stratford team. Now, if Toller can figure out some kind of way to contain him, and that's the key to this matchup here, then I pick Toller, but it's going to be tough. I think that this guy is ready for the big-time situation. I think their win last week over Hartley last week. They're juiced up after beating the defending
They didn't just win.
They whomped them.
Yes.
They're juiced up after defeating the defending 2A Division 1 champ from last year. I give Stratford the slight edge there, but man, it's going to be close.
This one was one I just mulled over. I just mulled over it, and I couldn't figure it out because I think the thing for me was Stratford. Yes, Braden's fantastic. Their defense is
it's very good.
sound.
It's
it
very
is
good.
so sound. But the thing that really pushed it over the edge for me, really, it was Isaac Blessing because Peyton Brown is so good and he is so difficult to defend that they're going to have to, most of the time, double team him off the edge.
Yeah.
So when you're so focused on Peyton Brown, the thing that changes it for me is that Isaac Blessing has the arm to be able to throw it a really nice deep ball. But the biggest thing is that he is dangerous. He is dangerous on his feet. That was the difference between the Marlin game last week. It was because they would send Peyton Brown out on a route to the end zone, and Isaac would run around,
the eyes
scramble,
would go there. Yep.
And then the moment that he decides that he's going to run it, he goes.
Yeah.
And he's bigger than most lines at that level. Now, that, again, could lead into Stratford's favor because they're pretty big up front.
Very big up front.
So this is the definition. This was probably the most... This one and like one other are the most coin flip games that I could not put my finger down on. Ultimately, I'm going to go with the Snake Farm. I was so impressed by what we saw from them last week. I think that they're big up front. That offensive line specifically did not look like a 2A Division I offensive line.
Yes.
So I think that they will be able to provide protection for Blessing in the back to either distribute it to Peyton Brown or to at least create a hole to get those necessary yards on 3rd and short.
Right. Is it crazy to say that it feels like this is a battle of who's going to be better up front?
Yep.
The Toller's offensive line taking on Stratford's defensive line.
I think that's the
Bryce
matchup.
Braden. I think that's where your eyes go, is the battle of the trenches here. I really think that's where your eyes go, and I think whoever wins there wins this game.
Yep, because both of them have plenty of skill players on the outside, or
Absolutely.
the guy that can just do
exactly, right. This is
I
who
think,
is bigger, who is more physical and dominant up front.
Yep, completely agree. So I went Toller, she went Stratford.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's the thing too. Like, we've seen Toller; they're very convincing. I haven't seen Stratford.
Yeah,
I want to see Stratford.
Yep.
They're far, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe I would have been. My mind would have changed if I've been able to see Stratford, but I haven't. So dude, I don't know.
And then on the other side of the bracket, we have a matchup that I don't think anybody was expecting. And I think that if you were saying that you were expecting this, other than maybe the people in the Ganado locker room, you're wrong. Like, you're lying.
Yes.
Timpson taking on Ganado, not Refugio.
Nope. What?
That game.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
That game last week where Ganado took it to Refugio. I mean, took it to them. Impressive. Absolutely impressive. Ganado has every right to call us out for not thinking that they could do that.
Absolutely.
They called us out in like week 1 or week 2, and we were like, okay, let's see when you get to Refugio.
Well, and here's the thing for me is that this was a rematch game.
Yep.
And
they played each other in week 11.
Refugio stomped them by like
27 points, I think.
The first time around.
Yep.
And I kind of just figured the same thing was going to happen. Refugio, again, we're talking about playoff pedigree here. They've got it. They know how to win in these big-time situation games. So that's why my mouth dropped to the ground when we were at the Toller game last week, because you pulled me aside and you looked at me and you said, yeah, Ganado is absolutely romping Refugio right now. It's insane. I was like, by how many points? And you were like, by like 4 touchdowns. And I was like, excuse me? What?
How did that happen?
How did that happen? But yeah, we did not expect a Timpson-Ganado semifinal matchup here.
Nope.
I admit that.
Definitely did not. It was impressive. Dylan Holt has looked fantastic for that Ganado team, so I'll be really interested to see. Here's the deal, man. I went with Timpson, and I feel good about that.
I do too.
I don't feel as good as I thought I would about that going into it. And the main thing is J.J. Garner got hurt.
Is hurt.
We don't know. I'm going to be honest. Like, I haven't asked. I haven't talked to Thurwanger. I don't know the status of J.J. Garner or how bad the injury is. But without him, it actually is more of a factor than what I would have thought heading into the playoffs. Because obviously they have the guy. They have Terry Bussey, the 5-star athlete. You know, he... last year's Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year. He is that guy, and we were so excited to watch him be that guy. J.J. Garner has stepped up in a huge way in the playoffs, and it's funny because I said it the other day on TFT, but I compared him to, if you remember last year when we were all popping off about Bryson Washington being like the unbelievable running back for Franklin and blah, 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 and he really was. And then Jaden Jackson, the sophomore, came out of nowhere.
We
and
were like, who is that?
What
He's
in the
massive
world?
3A
like, did
running
you just
back.
clone him and make another Bryson Washington?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about with this one.
Yeah, right.
Terry Bussey is the guy. Everyone knows that. But you know how much it helps to have a J.J. Garner there that you can take some of the pressure off of it? Because they have Vosky Howard, and he's been fantastic. You know, he might have been hurt at one point. I think he's back.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm interested in this game because what Ganado did so well against Refugio. One was great line play, but two, they didn't allow Ernest Campbell to do the thing of being the guy and the explosive athlete and all that stuff. Their defense found a really, really unbelievable way to wrap him up, to not let him get open and neutralize the rest of the threats that they had on the offensive side of the ball. Refugio kills people with speed. That's the name of the game when it comes to Refugio ball, and Ganado did not let that happen. How does Timpson kill people? With speed. Yep. And with
the guy
explosive plays. So this one is really going to come down to, I think, again, is Ganado's defense able to limit those explosive plays? And is Terry Bussey, because he had to kind of put on the cape last week, which he is very capable of doing, but that was the most that they had been tested after J.J. Garner went out.
Right. Well, and here we can kind of see that last year when Timpson and Refugio met up, all they had was Terry Bussey, right? And they were able to find a way to shut him down, right? So these teams know, just like Ganado did with Refugio last week and Ernest Campbell, this team is very aware of how to shut a team down that has the guy.
And especially
now, I
when
think Terry Bussey is better
is,
than Ernest Campbell.
Yes, I agree.
But does Terry Bussey get tired? You know, what happens if he doesn't have that next guy behind him?
Yeah.
Right. What if he cannot produce a superstar game? Because, again, what if he gets hurt? What if he gets tired? Because that's kind of what we've been relying on when we're talking about Timpson and then making it to AT&T Stadium, is because, yes, it's Terry Bussey's last year.
Yep.
You know, he's a senior this year. He's going off to wherever next year, Texas A&M. But, you know, what happens if they can shut him down?
Right. And I will say, the one thing that does make me feel a little bit good about that is Terry Bussey was hurt earlier in the year, and Timpson was still fine. And I think that that's why J.J. Garner got so good. He got that, oh, crap, I have to step
those
it
reps
up type
in,
of
yeah,
thing.
right.
Now it's back the other way. So injury definitely playing a factor of making this game a little bit more interesting than I thought that it was going to be, but Ganado keeps proving us wrong. So ultimately, I'm going with Timpson. I feel pretty good about that pick, but we'll see.
Who knows?
So I've got Toller playing Timpson in the state championship. You have Timpson playing Stratford, both of which would be fantastic games.
Yes.
That would be the night game of Wednesday night.
Yeah, because 281 goes first this year.
Correct. Moving up now to 3A Division 2. This would be the early morning state championship game. No. That's a lie. Is it?
It's the afternoon game. Because 3A Division 2 goes first.
So this would be the morning game. Regardless, Canadian and Gunner, Part 7.
Yes.
They just keep doing that thing. And here's the thing, honestly, that I don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this game because we talk about it every single year. It is a coin flip every single year. I mean, Canadian is the number one offense right now in the entire state in 3A Division 2. Gunner's quarterback, Walker Overman, has looked absolutely fantastic. Their defense is operating. Gunner's defense is operating right now. They did allow 33 points to Jacksboro last week, so
which
that was
shocking. That's kind of shocking for how great their defense has been all year. I mean, they've been producing shutouts all year, so that 33 points is I also was talking to Step last night, and he thinks that Gunner's defense is a little banged up too.
Oh, really?
Which is a little kind of concerning. I don't know if that gives you the slight edge with Canadian. But either way, I think they're gonna be able to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about this game other than it's going to be an absolute banger, like it always is. Maybe even more so this year than it has been in a couple of the years past. Really excited for this one. We'll be in Abilene for it. If you're there, come say hi. The other side of that bracket, Dangerfield coming out of Region 3, Tidehaven coming out of Region 4. This is one that we disagreed on, and this is another coin flip for me. I think that Dangerfield, to me, has the more explosive playmakers. I think Tidehaven might be the better overall team as a unit. And so it's kind of just what do you put more stock into?
Right. This is a very, especially on the offensive side of the ball, I think that this is a very stylistic differential type matchup here because, like you said, Dangerfield, they like to air it out. With quarterback Chase Johnson and what he's been able to do for this offense this year, he's been absolutely
incredible. Want the home run play.
They want the explosive plays. They want to break defenses there over the top.
Yep. They want their defense spending a lot more time out there than their offense.
Exactly. But when you look at Tidehaven,
they're
a little bit more slower paced, right? Their running back, Joseph Dodd, the Baylor commit.
Oh, he's so good. He's been so fun to watch.
He's very, very good. So they both have those kind of star power, you know. I think it comes down to is if you're picking Tidehaven, can Tidehaven slow down this Dangerfield offense, and can they make Chase Johnson a little bit uncomfortable in the pocket? For me, I think it came down to I think Dangerfield, I think that they're just going to be a little bit too much for this defense to handle.
Yeah.
I think this is probably the most explosive defense or offense that they've had to face
Aaron Hampton
all year.
alone is probably the most explosive player that they've seen.
Exactly. So I don't know if they're going to be able to contain that explosive type offense.
Yeah, and for me, it was the exact opposite in I think that Tidehaven does such a good job of managing the clock and running time out that if your defense can go and have like their first four, if their offense can go have their first 4 drives and just mull out the clock, just really, really milk it for as much as you possibly can, then all your defense has to do is go out there and get 2 to 3 key stops. You just need 2 to 3 because Dangerfield is going to get theirs. There will be explosive plays. But if you can limit that early on to where they're having to have the pressure to crank out those big plays in the latter portion of the game, that's where I think Tidehaven can go. Their first, we're going to know a lot about this game in the first quarter.
First quarter
is how
absolutely.
I feel. Because how much time in that first possession is Tidehaven able to milk the clock, and how quickly or how much is that defense able to go out there and get a couple of key stops early. I think if you can get a couple key stops early, that Tidehaven can win this game. So it's funny. We went completely opposite there,
right.
But it was for the same reasoning. We just liked one side better.
Over the other. And I just think that's, how do you like your offense, right? It's just kind of literally, that's how I went with it.
Exactly.
I don't know. Coin flip type game, I think it's going to be fun no matter what.
Yes, completely agree. I also think it's more fun when they like completely milk the clock forever, and then the team that always makes explosive things like has to make an explosive play at the end.
It's like throw the ball.
Yeah.
Throw it far.
I love it. Injected. All right, moving on to my favorite classification, 3A Division 1, and I'm not scared to say it. Tonight, 7 p.m. from the Star. We'll be watching Brock and Malakoff. Tasty, 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 tasty. I went with Malakoff.
Yep.
I saw Malakoff absolutely destroy Grandview in the regional semifinals.
Yes.
My dad and I went out there. We saw a dead body. We left. We came back. We ate leftover turkey. Fantastic time. Malakoff. Oh gosh, what's his name?
Mike Jones?
No. Who? No, their quarterback Mike Jones looks great. Thing about him that I don't think many people who haven't watched Malakoff understand, he is lethal with his legs.
Is he really?
Lethal with his legs, especially anytime he's in the red zone. Because where do you think it's going? You think it's going to Jerron Hall, which is a sophomore superstar at running back, and Chauncey Hogg.
Yes.
He is fantastic. Now, he's the threat in the back of the end zone. And that's what makes them so dangerous is Jerrion Hall will take it 50 yards down into the end zone, and you're set up, and then you don't know what to do from there. And that's where Mike Jones comes into play, because you're thinking it's going to be some sort of a fade route or a curl route or something into the back of the end zone, and Chauncey Hogg's going to come up and be the big-time catch. He's huge. He's awesome. And then Mike
Jones just takes off.
It's crazy. This offense, I cannot wait for you to see it tonight in person. It is so stinking fun. Flip it around on the other side. Brock is a fantastic football team.
Yes.
They did the same thing that they did last year that they've done this year. They schedule probably one of the most gruesome non-district schedules. They go out there, they lose, people yell at us for having them in the rankings, then they get to district, blow past everybody, and then they get to these games. And this is the reason why they schedule so tough in the early part of the year, because they're conditioned to play tough teams, which is what Malakoff's going to be bringing to them on a platter tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Much like Dangerfield and Tidehaven game, I think this is definitely a clash of the offenses here, very stylistically, because like you just said, when you talk about Malakoff, this offense is absolutely lethal. They can hit you in the mouth many, many different ways. They're fast. But then when you flip it over to the Brock side, they play kind of a slower paced version of football, much like Tidehaven. They run the ball a lot, but they're very big. That is a big, big team.
Yep.
So I think my eyes are going with the Malakoff offense against what they can do against this big Brock defense.
Which is so funny because for so many years, I feel like all we've talked about with Brock has been their offense.
Yeah.
Because, like, back in the day when they had Cash, what was his name? Cash something. Their running back. How he would just go. I mean, it was like literally covering those games because I had to cover a couple Brock games was like, oh, well, I'm getting a workout in today because
right.
And it's like, but no, their defense has looked outstanding this year, and that's what I'm so excited for with this game.
Yeah,
genuinely excited. I'm going Malakoff. I think they have too many offensive weapons. I don't know how great I feel about that, but they looked unbelievable when I saw them play in the regional finals, and I know they looked unbelievable last week, which so did Brock, going out there and just destroying Paradise in a rematch.
Right, in a rematch, too. I thought that it was going to be one of those things where, like, it's going to be tough to beat a good team twice, right? It was one of those games for me, but, man, like, Brock really proved themselves last week, and I think that was a 21-7 win or something. That's the thing about Brock is that they don't win big, but they'll beat you up front. Like, they're going to make you hurt in the morning.
Yep.
They might not put that many points, but they're going to make you pay for it.
Yeah. This one is exciting. I'm
Correct.
very excited. We will be there in like 4 hours.
I know. I can't wait.
Yes. I love the State Semifinals. All right, and then in the other side of the 3A Division I bracket, it is the two-time reigning state champs and the Franklin Lions taking on the Cowboys of Edna. I went Franklin with this one because, as I said, we were dumb to not pick Franklin to win their region.
Yeah.
I don't want to make that mistake again with a two-time reigning state champ. That's taking nothing away from Edna. Let me say that one more time into the camera. That's taking nothing away from Edna. Edna has a very good football team.
Yes.
Edna has a very good football team. Okay, I understand that. This is a team full of athletes from Franklin that have been here the past 2 years. This is a team that lost Bryson Washington to graduation.
And they continue to do.
And they're back here in a state semifinal game with a running back that last year blew us away as a sophomore. He's now only a junior and is destroying people in Jaden Jackson. I mean, I think that their defense, the other thing is the defense has looked outstanding for Franklin all year long.
Yeah, I think so too. And they still run the slot tee, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a masterclass. Much like Liberty Hill, they're a masterclass at running the slot tee. And last year, if you remember, these two teams met in the semifinals last year, Edna and Franklin. And I don't think Edna could really figure out how to stop them because that is such a tough offense to face. I mean, it just drives you insane.
On top of the fact that when you look at 3A on the right side of the bracket, 3A Division I Region 3 has to be one of the toughest regions through and through out of any classification. Franklin, Lorena, Columbus, Hitchcock, Little River Academy. I mean, almost every single team in that region we could have seen coming out of this region. But the thing that they all have in common is speed. Speed is the name of the game up there.
Yep.
You go down to
exactly
Region
right.
4, it's a bunch of
Power.
big ol' hard-hitting boys. Okay, and what they want to do is they want old school mouth mash. I said that right. Mouth smash football. I short-circuited. And that's just which one wins out. Will the power and the huge guys that Edna have, especially along the line, prove to be too much for Franklin to where they can't just run willy-nilly and keep up with it, especially on the defensive side of the ball? I mean, they're just going to pound and pound and pound. Or will Franklin be too fast and tire Edna out in about the fourth quarter? Like, I think I think it's going to be close for at least the first half.
I think so,
I think in the third quarter is when we're going to start to see, does Franklin look exhausted because they're running into brick walls the whole time? Or does Edna look gassed because they can't keep up with Franklin's speed?
Yes.
That's it. That's the whole story. I'm going with the 2-time reigning champ. Very good matchup between two really good teams. Saying that again, two really good teams. I think Franklin gets the nod just based out of last year. They could not keep up with the speed.
No, and I think you have to go with playoff pedigree too. This team knows how to win in these types of situations, and Edna kind of didn't know what to do last year. Also, I will say this, Edna has a fantastic run through. We've talked about the gate.
The gate
Ish
cool.
loves it. I think it's really cool. We got to see him in person last year.
Yep.
It's pretty dang cool. So, Edna fans,
we did get to see
you
him
have
in
a cool
person
run
last
through.
year.
Correct. Anyways.
Moving on now to 4A Division 2. This will be I don't even know at this point, the early game on Friday, I think.
It's happening at some point next week.
This one is the one that I feel like I'm kicking myself. Gilmer, go out there and win this thing so that way I don't
seriously
wake up in the middle of the night going, no!
No.
Glen Rose and Gilmer, this one is so hard to choose for a couple of different reasons. But one, Gilmer did the unthinkable. They beat Carthage for the first time out of their last 8 meetings. It finally happened.
And see, that's it for me. It was that win last week that convinced me, like, this team is for real. Like, because they've already gotten past that hump.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of their thing. Like, how are we going to get past Carthage? And that's what I think is, I think that they've done that. That was on their calendar. That day was circled on their calendar.
Yes.
And now that they've done that, I think playoff pedigree comes into play here. I give them the edge over Glen Rose.
But that's the thing that scares me. This is the exact reason why I have trust issues, is because they've had that game circled on their calendar.
Are they going to overlook this
Are
week?
they going to
Are
overlook
they looking at
Glen
AT&T
Rose?
Stadium?
This is the Glen Rose team that started the year 1-4.
I know.
This is a Glen Rose team that lost all their good players after
to graduation.
They almost beat Carthage in the state semifinal last year.
Oh, man. Wasn't that like a 3-2 overtime game or something like that?
Oh, it was on the very last play of the drive.
Oh, that's what it was.
It was the very last drive of the game. Glen Rose, there are certain people that say that Glen Rose was not in control of that Carthage game the whole time last year. Let me tell you, and I have told those people specifically in this office how wrong they are because I watched the game. Glen Rose was in control of that Carthage game last year in the state semifinals, okay? Carthage got their own. Don't get me wrong. They scored. Glen Rose had the chance to go back and score. They get to the 50-yard line. A fumble completely ended it. They were moving. Okay, so this is a Glen Rose team that you would talk about championship pedigree. You're right. They haven't been there in a minute, but they were in the state semifinals last year. They were advanced further than what Carthage or what Gilmer did last year. So they've played on that stage. They've played on this specific stage against Carthage, and they lost in heartbreaking fashion. Now, they lost a lot of those kids, and that's why we thought that they weren't going to be back here. And then here they are, back here to take on a Gilmer team. Caden Tennyson has looked fantastic for Gilmer, and that's ultimately why I went with them. But it makes me – we're on the same team. We both picked Gilmer.
Yes.
It makes me so nervous that you can sit there and go, Carthage. We did it. We won. We did it. That's their –
Is that enough?
Our state championship.
Right.
You know?
Is that –
Then they go into a team that started off 1-4, and most people probably think shouldn't even be here at this point. Do you overlook them? It makes me so nervous.
It does. And
I ultimately am picking
have
Gilmer, but it makes me nervous.
Yep. When is this game? Because I'm going to keep
this
it
is
very
7 p.m.
close.
tomorrow in Prosper.
Yeah. Oh, man, dude. There's so many good games I want to go to,
I
but
know.
this one is definitely because it's like, yeah, like you said, which scenario do you go with?
Yep.
Do you go with the playoff pedigree that Gilmer possesses? Do you go with the star power that they have? Or do you go with a team that's going to sneak up on you, punch you in the mouth? I don't know.
Not to mention, Glen Rose's defense has forced 21 turnovers
They're
this
very
year.
good. That
Their
defense is stout.
Is good.
Yeah.
They're really good, and you cannot overlook them. And I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. We're on the same team, but I'm very nervous.
We can't keep thinking about it, or we're going to go back on our picks.
Okay. Up next, on the right side of the bracket, we're going back right, Belleville and Wimberley. Really intrigued in this matchup for a couple of different reasons. I think that I went with Belleville. I think you went with Belleville as well.
I did too, yes. That is a dangerous team.
Oh, my God. I'll get to Belleville. So Wimberley is a team that ran through Region 4. just like they have in the past. Cody Stover, their quarterback, is really coming into form. You remember Cash McCollum was there. Cash left and went to China Spring. They brought in, and then Cody Stover ended up taking over. He has looked exceptional all year long, but they haven't really been tested in a hot minute.
Since Brock in
week 3.
Very early on in the season. Yeah, very, very early on.
So we've seen a lot of really good Wimberley football, but we haven't seen them be tested a whole lot. This Belleville team is a test. This Belleville team is insane. Credit to Tepper. He picked them to win the region, and he was the only one. They are incredible. I mean, incredible. On the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball. What's their... Oh, gosh, I have it written down somewhere.
They seem to be literally
DJ Sanders in the middle of the defensive line. If you want to watch this game just for him, he's a blast.
They seem to be just clicking on all cylinders right now. They're number 1 in scoring offense. They're number 1 in scoring defense. And they're number 2 in the entire state across all classifications and divisions in margin of victory. So they're beating teams by an average of 49 points a game.
Which
now,
is
again,
funny because that's what Wimberley's doing, too.
Absolutely. Now, again, I was going to say, now this Wimberley team is going to be a big test for them. But I'm going with Belleville because I think that they're the more complete
I do,
team.
too. I think they're
they're
a little bigger, too. I think Wimberley's got more of the speed advantage. Belleville has the hard-hitting, physical power, all of that. The thing that I'm interested in is how well does Wimberley handle the slot T, but I do believe that Geronimo Navarro also runs the slot T. Somebody can yell at me in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but that's their big-time district matchup year in and year out. So I do think that they are pretty experienced in defending it.
Yes.
I could be wrong about that, but I think Geronimo Navarro runs the slot T.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, that is definitely an advantage that Wimberley has that a lot of the teams playing Belleville have not had.
Right.
So,
and those backs for Belleville, those three backs for Belleville are insane.
Dude, yeah, if you want like the most impressive stat lines, go look at the running backs or the fullbacks, halfbacks, whatever. Every slot T calls them different things.
Yes.
You never know which one is which, and that's the whole purpose of the slot T, if you were wondering.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. There's I had their names written down. Dee Murray, Sam Rinicky, and Corin Hood.
Yes, Corin Hood is awesome.
All 3 of them together have produced over 5,000 yards this year. And 79 total touchdowns between those 3 players. Jeez. They run the slot T like a masterpiece.
Yes.
They know how to do it.
Yes, they really do. So that one's interesting. Ultimately, I'm going to go with Belleville. I think they're the more well-rounded team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So Gilmer and Belleville, Glenrose and Belleville, Wimberley and Belleville. We don't know. We don't know.
I don't know on any of these. Like, I flipped a coin on most of these. So,
all right, for a Division 1 now, a game that, man, I wish we could be at tomorrow. I'm super excited for Gunner Canadian because that's been a big bucket list. I will have knocked off Grandview, Malakoff, and Canadian and Gunner all in the postseason. Those are 2 rivalries that I wanted to see in the playoff rivalries. Anyway, Decatur
big 3A girl.
And Anna. Oh, correct. Decatur and Anna rocks.
A rematch.
That's my statement. That's my take on it.
From week 1.
It rocks.
These 2 teams played in week 1.
And here we are in week 15.
And here we are in
running
the
it back.
state semifinals running it back.
Yep.
Anna eventually won
37
to 30, I believe.
Yep.
But man, this is also a coin flippy type game.
Uh-huh.
You know? I mean, I think Anna has the guy in Jacob Emmers. He has proved that he can show out in big time situations because
he's the reason that they're here.
I was going to say, if you throw it back to the regional semifinals, I believe, when Anna took on Frisco Panther Creek, that game was neck and neck
the whole
entire time until Jacob Emmers was released
catch
at the end of the game in the end zone, I believe, and he caught it. And they won the game over Frisco Panther.
It was a game-winning catch.
It was a game-winning. Yes,
it was an insane catch.
Correct. So
DeAndre Williams has really come into play as the quarterback there. He's really looking good.
Right. So I'm just saying, I think that Anna knows how to win in these big-time situations. They've already beat this Decatur team once, which is a very, very good Decatur team. Don't get me wrong. But I give the edge to Anna for that reason.
Yeah, I gave the edge to Anna because I feel like they are a little bit more multiple in their offensive attack. I think that this game is pointsy. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of defense in this game.
No.
I think if you are looking for the fireworks factory, this is the game that you go to. The reason I gave the edge to them is because I think Anna's ground attack has really come into play too. Obviously, Emerson's great, but they do have a little bit of that. The real question here for me is that Decatur's running back, Nate Palmer, is back from injury.
Jacob Palmer.
Back from injury. How effective is he? Because they made it work when he was not there. And if he's back up to full strength, he has the capability to take over a game single-handedly.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
they need to – it's going to be difficult for Anna in the fact that they don't have game film on him because he was out from injury. So that could definitely play a factor. Ultimately, I think I like Anna more, but I think that this one is going to be pointsy.
Very fun, too.
Very fun. All right, on to the right side of the bracket here in a 4A Division 1. It is the winners of Region 3, Tyler Chapel Hill, the Bulldogs, taking on the second-year varsity program in San Antonio, Davenport. What an unbelievable job that they have done down there, the Wolves. Jeff Reardon, it's time to cash that check.
Yes. You've been here, man.
You've been here. These guys have been here. I mean, Brisbane has been unbelievable. They worried me in the middle of the season. That loss to Kilgore was not good. The loss to Lindale was terrible.
Lindale was bad.
Like, just bad. I finally got the answer from Chapel Hill last week that I have been looking for 3 years now, and it was the fact that they went up against a Kilgore team that prides itself off of being hard-hitting, ground and pound, we're going to put your face in the dirt type of team. That's the games that Chapel Hill always lost. They could get into a shootout with anybody, but when someone punched them in the mouth, it never seemed like they could super punch back.
Right.
Now they did. They shut us all up by beating Kilgore because they played tough, physical ball last week.
We know what that offense is with quarterback Demetrius Brisbane, running back Ricky Stewart. They are a high-powered offense, right? But on the defensive side of the ball, that's never really been the name of the game for them, right?
Their lines, even like their offensive line made me nervous.
Right. So I think that what says a lot about that game last week against Kilgore is that was a defensive win. You can look at that as you took a really, really good Kilgore offense and you shut them down. You held them to 19 points in that fact. And I think that's what pushed me over the edge with San Antonio Davenport is that this Tyler Chapel Hill is kind of clicking on all cylinders right now. That defensive win last week was fantastic. I think they're the more complete team here when you're looking at it as a whole.
And then not to count out Davenport at all.
No.
I mean, this is a team that's in its second year as a varsity program, not to mention we didn't think that they would be here because they lost Shaston Golden. I mean, he was electric. God, he was fun to watch last year. He was he single-handedly put this program on the map. They lose him. We're like, okay, cool. They had the one good guy. Now they're going to get their feet under him, still build culture, blah, blah, blah. Here they are playing in a state semifinal. And then, so they've lost that. But Tristan Hamlin, their quarterback, has really, really done a good job this year. He's kind of taken over for that Shaston Golden leaving. And so they blew the doors off of Port Lavaca Calhoun last week. The Sand Crabs did not fare well that day.
No.
So it'll be interesting. There's star power on both sides, but I really feel like you said, finally seeing Chapel Hill go, no, man, we can punch people back in the mouth. They're going to need to do that against a very big San Antonio Davenport team. So really, really interested in this one. I give Tyler Chapel Hill the nod.
Me
so
too.
I think Anna and Chapel Hill would make for one heck of a good state championship game if we could get it.
Yes, it would.
All right, moving on to 5A Division 2. We picked a rematch of this for the state championship in South Oak Cliff and Port Neches Grove. So this week, South Oak Cliff is taking on Frisco Emerson, another second-year varsity program there under head coach Kendall Miller, and just outstanding what they've been able to do. I didn't realize this until Tepper said it, but only the third Frisco ISD team to reach this level.
Lone Star and then at Frisco High. I think were
Frisco
the other
High
two.
met in the state semifinal, and then Lone Star's been to the championship under Rayburn. So, but Mike Hawkins has had that offense rolling for Frisco Emerson the entire time. But again, let's revisit 42-0 over Lovejoy for South Oak Cliff last week.
That was my state champion pick. Was Lovejoy, because I've liked this Lovejoy team all season. That is a team full of stars, star talent, skill players left and right here, and they came out and they hung a donut on them. And this Frisco Emerson team is pointsy. They're averaging 57 points a game. I don't think they can do that against this Sauk defense because this Sauk defense, how they play up front is terrifying. They're punching you in the mouth.
Seeing that come into fruition has been a lot of fun because, I mean, last year, almost every single person on that defense last year had a D1 offer. That's one of the most talented defenses that we've seen in Texas high school football in a long time.
Yes.
I mean, Katie in 2015 was really good. Obviously, everyone talks about Dangerfield, and I don't know as a unit that the South Oak Cliff defense played as well as that, but from a individual player perspective, unbelievable. The talent that was on that defense. So they lose all of that. You lose Manny Muhammad, and it's like, okay, where are we going from here? Is this South Oak Cliff defense going to be able to do that? And I think they went out there and shut everybody the hell up last week.
And here's the thing about Sauk, too. It's kind of like a Brock situation, right? They schedule really tough. They play Duncanville. They play DeSoto. And then they get beat by a lot.
Lancaster.
They played Lancaster. Right, exactly. And then they kind of cruise through district play, right? And then they get to the playoffs, and we're reminded, like, oh, yes, Sauk's good.
Sauk's really good again.
But it's too late because we already produced our regional picks, and then we're like, oh yeah, this Sauk team's probably going to do a three-peat.
They're doing it again.
They're doing that Sauk thing again. This defense, they've produced 4 shutouts this year. They don't let you score on them.
No.
Frisco Emerson's not going to drop 57 points on them.
No. Kyle Ward is a mastermind when it comes to defense.
Absolute mastermind.
If this is not all the proof you need, I don't know what is.
No.
Mastermind when it comes to defense. His guys are rolling right now. And then on the offensive side of the ball, William Little has really come into form at the quarterback position. I love watching Danny Green run the ball.
Yes.
He is a fun talent to watch. So both going South Oak Cliff here. We were dumb in not picking them to win the region. We admit that openly. But this Frisco Emerson team can score, so it'll
be fun.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, I definitely think that Frisco Emerson's going to be able to put up points. There's no doubt about that. Mike Hawkins is unbelievable.
I would be shocked if this one was a shutout. I was shocked that Lovejoy was a shutout, but I would be more shocked if Frisco Emerson was a shutout.
Yes, I agree there.
All right, so there you go. And then on the right side of the bracket, it is a game that we saw at this stage last year in PNG and Liberty Hill. This one, 7 p.m. Friday at Cy-Fair FCU Stadium. And it's the same script as last year. Jeff Joseph, we talked about Kyle Ward being an unbelievable mastermind when it comes to defense. Jeff Joseph is also a mastermind when it comes to defense, and he is prepared to take on the vaunted slot T, and
scary,
which I guess doesn't make sense because vaunted means in the air, so I don't know why I said that, but anyway,
scary slot T.
It is scary. It is the devil, and there is not a single program I think out there that runs it more effectively than what Liberty Hill does.
Kind of a little off topic, but not really. Have you seen the Sickos Committee tweet that I
put
in the Slack?
I did.
It was if you guys aren't familiar with Sickos Committee, they like to tweet about just funny things that happen around the sports world that most people don't pay attention to, right? So they found a video of Liberty Hill running the slot T against, I don't know what team that was, but they quote tweeted and they were just like, what in the hell is this? Like, how do they run that so effectively? But Liberty Hill, and I would say even Franklin, have it down to a T. Haha. So they run the...
All right, time to end the show. We're done. We're done. No, but so here's the one difference. So this is a Liberty Hill team that this year, I mean, they have 3 losses on the year.
Yeah.
And we were going, this is not the same Liberty Hill team that we're used to seeing, because usually they blow through district. They blow through everybody. I mean, just literally anybody that stands in the way, they're going to blow through them. This is not that team. That being said, they have really come into form here in the playoffs. Genuinely have. Last year, and this takes nothing away from what PNG did, because they went out there and they had a masterclass performance on defense against the slot T regardless. But that also being said, 2 of their 3 best rushers last year were hurt in that game. Do I think that Jeff Joseph and PNG have a really good team? I do. I genuinely do. I've watched a lot of this PNG team play this year, and I think that they are very, very talented. Isaiah Nguyen has been great running the ball, so very interested to see that. Their defense has looked really, really good. I don't know. I don't think that it's the same. I think that Liberty Hill is not as good of a team as they were last year at full strength, but they're going to be more full strength this year when they play.
Yes.
So it's like, if they were full strength last year, might have had a different result on the game.
Yeah.
I don't think they're as good at full strength, but I do think they are more full strength than they were. And that, to me, does make a difference. Still going to go with PNG, but I think this will be even closer than it was last year.
I think PNG is just stronger than they were last year, too.
Yeah.
I think that
I think offensively they're stronger.
Offensively, with Isaiah Nguyen there at running back, too, I just think that this team is clicking right now. And I think they're looking to get back for a revenge game at AT&T Stadium.
So there you go. Our choice for 5AD2 to end up in AT&T Stadium is a rematch of last year's 5AD2 state championship with South Oak Cliff and Port Neches Groves. We're Women Talking Football. We're here every Thursday. We're trying to be here every Thursday. We will be now that we get a little bit.
Well, not next Thursday.
Not next Thursday. This is our last show
or
for
the
the
last
year.
Thursday.
Just letting you know. But it's the big one, and it's the best one. 581 now. It is Aledo taking on Forney, and then Smithson Valley taking on Brownsville Veterans Memorial. So we'll start off with the left side of the bracket with Aledo and Forney. Aledo, someone we had penciled in this whole time to be here. I don't think that there was ever a doubt that they were going to be penciled in here. Haas Haney, Patrick Daniels. I mean, they're
loaded.
All of them.
They're just
all of them.
Absolutely
insane.
Loaded. I mean, we've watched them week in and week out because they're
a Texan Live school.
Texan Live school. We love
Watch
them.
them live on Dave Campbell's Texan
Correct.
Live.
But this team is just so absolutely loaded, and they have proved that when they get in those close game type situations, like
they can
against
win.
Denton Geyer,
against
Denton Ryan, they can win, and that's why I just cannot pick against this team, because no matter if they're blowing people out of the water, if they're in a close type game situation, they have the playoff pedigree. This Aledo team, year in and year out, knows how to win. And a lot of that is because of coaching. I think Robbie Jones is a genius. Tim Buchanan was a genius. But I can't pick against them. I mean, they're just them.
And what's funny is, much in the same vein, slightly, Forney knows how to win this year.
Yes.
They went and played I just lost it. Lancaster last week, and pulled out a double overtime win and have now beaten Lancaster 2 times this year. I think the first one went into overtime too. If not, it was at the very end of the game when they beat them. So anyway, what Coach Fleener has done with the Jackrabbits has been so stinking fun to watch, man. They are an exciting team. I know that they're chock full of recruits. Javian Osborne has looked exceptional at the running back position. It's just what do you want? Do you want the program that continues to win championships almost year in and year out, or do you want to believe that the team of destiny thing is what's going to be able to get them? Because if Aledo was, say, playing, someone that we would have expected to come out of Region 2. Yeah, Longview, clear-cut example. Even Lancaster, to a certain degree, like maybe not at the beginning of this year, but just kind of those tenured programs that you continue to see come out of 5A D2 Region 2, 5A D1 Region 2.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Forney came out of nowhere, okay? And we thought that they were going to be good, but not this good. Not state semifinal good. And it's just, man, if there's ever a time for Aledo to go down,
this might be it.
It's time like that. So Coach Fleener's going to go out there and get it. I'm going to give the nod to the Bearcats. I think that you're in your own right to disagree with that. It's hard to pick against Aledo at this point in the year.
Well,
it's just hard.
I feel like we kind of used our upset watch too last week.
Yes.
Because I think that even Tepper thought that Abilene
could
quietly upset Aledo. But of course it didn't happen. Aledo put that to bed very quickly and blew him out of the water. And I don't know. I think they're going to do the same thing this week.
I agree. All right, let's move on to the right side of the bracket. Smithson Valley, San Antonio team taking on, how about that?
Woo!
Stand up for the RGV, Brownsville Veterans Memorial. They did the unthinkable last week. So this is the first time, this would be the first time, if they're able to punch their ticket to state, the first time that an RGV team has been to the state championship since 1961. How incredible would that be? But how incredible has the story been so far? They did the unthinkable last week. They were down big to Corpus Christi Miller and came back and scored a buttload of points in the fourth quarter to take them down and to wave the flag for the Valley. So much fun to watch. We were actually in the studio, and one of our interns pulled it up on the computer, so that way we were able to watch it as well while we were doing the show.
We were like, how much time's left? How much time is left? We gotta know.
And so they've looked great. Not to mention, this is under first-year head coach J.C. Ramirez.
I know.
I mean, just fairy tale. It's the same Team of Destiny type feeling here.
With that being said, though,
Smithson Valley looks good.
Great. And
Smithson Valley looks like a really good football team right now.
And I kind of worry about the strength of schedule of Vets.
Yes. They've had a tough one.
Yeah. I think Corpus Christi Miller is very legit. But I think this
they beat PSJ North.
PSJ North, I think they're legit as well. But I think that this Smithson Valley
playing on a different level
team is playing on a different level that Brownsville Vets has not seen before. And I think that ultimately gives me the edge.
I don't think that they've seen a single best player like they're going to see in like Freddie DeBose.
Correct.
Smithson Valley has a ton of offensive weapons. I mean, a ton.
They run the flex bone, don't they? Yeah, and that's a tough offense to defend against.
It's tough to defend. They've got a couple of really good guys. I think that they have seen really good teams. I don't know if they've seen someone that's just ultimate star power like some of these Smithson Valley. So it really, to me, comes down with a lot like we were kind of saying earlier. I think Brownsville Vet's going to really try to milk the clock. I think that they're going to try and be very methodical in the way that they're running their offense. They're going to take their time. They're going to let that clock tick down because it is dangerous to have the Smithson Valley offense on the field.
Correct.
It is dangerous. You are always in danger. And so they want their defense out there for as little of a time as possible.
Yes.
They want their offense to take it slow, move the ball, bunch of, 3-yard runs, get it up, keep going, and then they do not want their defense being out on the field too long.
Yes, and this offense is a fast-paced offense.
Yes.
And it is going to be
they waste no time.
It is going to be tough to keep them off the field. But that's the name of the game here for Brownsville Vets is if they want to pull the upset, they've got to keep that offense off the field and play defense.
So the coolest thing is that regardless, we're going to have a San Antonio team or a RGV team in the state championship.
Rocks.
So it's win-win there. Would be unbelievable to see our RGV team back in for the first time since 1961.
Yes.
Big chance for history to be made there for Coach J.C. Ramirez in his first year at the helm for Brownsville Vets. But Larry Hill does not go away quietly. So interested to see that one. Moving on now into the largest classifications here for the 2023 Texas High School football playoffs. And that is, we'll start off with 6A D2, a just absolute DFW powerhouse matchup. So excited for this one. South Lake Carroll taking on DeSoto.
It's still so weird to see South Lake Carroll in Division II.
Yeah.
Because I'm always so used to say they're such a big school. I always think they're going D1, but it's so weird to see them play like DeSoto. I'm like, oh yeah, they're D2. I forgot.
Yep. So this one was a little bit harder to pick because of what South Lake Carroll did last week.
Exactly.
So I had DeSoto as my state champion the whole time. I think DeSoto has been the team to beat in the 6A D2 bracket since the moment that the brackets came out. I think we knew that, obviously, going into the playoffs. I think we knew that at the beginning of the regular season, that they had a really good shot to go back-to-back with what they're doing with DJ Bailey. Tiger Ridden has looked unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's looked fantastic.
The wide receiver
Marvin Duffy. Core is just stupid.
And on the running game, this is a very two-dimensional type offense.
Their
much like we
defensive
talked
backs
about
are
last
great.
week. Their defense is really great.
This is one of the most complete teams that I've watched.
Yes, absolutely. Here's the other thing, though. If South Lake Carroll can play like they played last week in their rematch with Byron Nelson, they've got a shot.
Yep.
Because that team also looked very complete. What was the final score to that game? That wasn't a shutout, was it?
No, they beat them by 49, I think.
Okay, yeah. It was really I think Byron Nelson was able to put up a couple of points there at the end, but
it was it was jarring to watch because we sat there and watched it on Bally.
Right. Because
jarring how impressive they looked.
The offense was clicking. The defense was clicking. They had a couple of points there for them. And then special teams was clicking.
Oh my
literally
God.
in all 3 phases of the game. I don't know if they can do that as well against this really stout DeSoto team. But if they can, they're going to give DeSoto a run for their money.
The motivation that they came into with that game, knowing that they lost to Byron Nelson in district play.
Oh, yeah, that's all they needed.
They need to come in feeling the anger that they felt in that game to this game.
Yeah.
If they can come in with that sort of raw emotion of going out there and just absolutely putting their foot to the pedal, they could beat DeSoto. Do I think that they will? No. I'm sticking firm. Probably going to get an angry text from Coach Dodge about that. I'm sticking firm with it. I think that DeSoto is the favorite in this game. I'm going to pick DeSoto. That comes with the asterisk of if they play to the caliber that they played last week, they could absolutely beat DeSoto.
Yes. And
I don't think they will, but they could.
Yes, correct. I also think that on the DeSoto side, they've got more star power. And I think also it comes down to that. Like, these kids know how to play ball, and they know how to win. I mean, if they play like they played against Duncanville, too, even last week against Cedar Hill, like, they know how to beat really, really good teams.
Here's the other thing. Like, we haven't talked about this a whole lot, but I think with this game, too, something that, like, you really want to keep your eye on, especially in, like, the first half, penalties. Who can keep their head on straight in this game?
Yes.
Because both of these are programs that, rightfully so, because they're so good year in and year out, they like to chirp. These coaches like to chirp. Claude Mathis and Riley Dodge are not scared to get out there, and they're not scared to get their boys fired up or to say some stuff, you know. I am very interested to see who makes the least amount of, like, off-the-field penalties. Technically on the field, but you know what I mean. I'm not talking about, oh, there was an offsides. I'm talking about who gets an unsportsmanlike conduct call. Who does that? Who loses their mind? Who gets a technical foul? You know, like.
Yes, correct.
So I am interested in that, is who can keep their head straight on this game more, because I think that team has an advantage too.
Yes. Where's this game being played?
This game
This
is
very
Saturday at
interesting.
Allen's Eagle Stadium.
Oh,
So-
that's the perfect place for it too.
so good.
Like, I love that.
This is one of those, when you tell people about Texas high school football, this is what you want.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
take AT&T Stadium out of it. Obviously, you want people to see the state championships.
That's
if you're
not a
talking
high school
about
stadium, though.
Allen Eagle Stadium, 2 premier teams in the DFW, all of that.
Yes.
This is the marquee matchup.
Yes. Correct.
All right, on the right side of the bracket here, Humble Summer Creek taking on Cibolo Steel. So a cross-regional matchup that is quite tasty, and one I had a very, very hard time picking.
Yes.
This was one that I think is too close to call. I ultimately went with Summer Creek. You went with Cibolo Steel.
Yes. I think this Cibolo Steel offense, and I think you've been talking about them like all year, is very good.
Yep.
I mean, with quarterback Chad Warner, wide receiver Jalen Cooper, running back Jonathan Hatton, they are a very complete offense, very two-dimensional type offense.
They're big,
very
too.
high-flying offense.
They are huge.
Yes, correct. And I just think that they're going to be too much for this Summer Creek defense to handle. And also, I think they played a really close game last week against Hightower, and I think that kind of worried me last week a little bit. On the other hand, Cibolo Steel also played a close game with Dripping Springs.
Yep.
Both really good wins last week.
Yep.
How do these two teams come out and play each other when they were both kind of in a scare last week?
I was going to say, and that's what made it so hard to choose.
Right.
It made it so
it's
hard
not like
to choose
one
because
team blew out, you know.
one and one didn't on the other. Both of them had to play gritty, hard-fought games to win. So one, they're tired. They're right on the cusp. Who takes that next step? I went with Summer Creek. I've watched so much Summer Creek football. I think that they match up well with Cibolo Steel. I think Cibolo Steel has a better offensive power. But I think that I had it written down. Oh, Lloyd Avant has looked outstanding at running back. But it's Xavier Atkins. I don't know if I've bought too much stock in him. I think he is an exceptional talent.
I think so, too.
He is an exceptional talent, and I think that if he can convince the rest of the defenders around him to step up and have the game of their life, that they can absolutely beat the Cibolo Steel team. I think that they're multiple on the offensive side of the ball, but I think it's the Summer Creek defense that I like And I think that defense is going to be one of the toughest defenses that Cibolo Steel has had to face all year.
Absolutely. Well, and here's also one thing to bring up, too. Last week, Hightower threw the ball really well against the Summer Creek team. And I think that's exactly what Cibolo Steel's game plan is coming in here, is that they're going to throw the dang ball all over this Summer Creek defense. And how are they going to handle that when they were kind of torched last week by it?
No.
But I don't know. It was also it's tough.
It was hard.
Because
you're
I like
exactly right.
Summer Creek's offense too. I don't know. It's a coin flip type game.
Yes.
I don't know.
that one was really hard to choose. So I'm
yeah.
going DeSoto to play Summer Creek. You're going DeSoto to play Cibolo Steel.
Yeah.
Finally, it is the largest classification. This one will be the middle game on Saturday, 6A D1.
Dude, I am so excited for this matchup. Duncanville, North Crowley. Big, hard-hitting dudes, star power.
Yeah.
The
prospect list on this one is
prospect
insane.
list. Greg Powers is all over it. Like, this is a Greg Powers type game here. But, dude, this game is going to be so hard-hitting. I don't think it'll be pointsy.
No.
I think it's going to be a defensive slugfest.
This one has, like, 28-21 written all over it.
Absolutely.
24-21, like, all over it.
And just like every team that Duncanville faces, it's going to come down to how
trenches.
well they play up front.
Yep.
I think both teams have the star power. I think that Duncanville has more of it.
Yes.
Keelan Russell at quarterback, DeCorian Moore, Colin Simmons, Caden Durham. The list goes on and on. And there is star power on the North Crowley side as well. But I also think that, yes, it's going to come down to the trenches, because I do think that they match up really well in the trenches. They're both very big and physical up front. But I think that it comes down to Duncanville having, one, the playoff pedigree that they have, and two, more of that star power type.
Yeah, I definitely
talent.
110% agree that, okay, let me be very clear. I think Duncanville wins this game. Point blank.
Yes.
I think Duncanville is the favorite. I think that you shouldn't have a reason to believe that they aren't the favorite. What I do love about this North Crowley team that I feel like they match up better than what normal people match up against the Duncanville team is, one, North Crowley's got some good size in the trenches.
Yes.
They're not, usually Duncanville is substantially larger in the trenches than everybody else.
Very well.
They're larger, but not by that like crazy slew. I love the North Crowley defensive backs.
Yes.
I think that they are dangerous. So, that being said, I think Duncanville is going to have to rely on their run game a lot, which
Caden Durham's going to be a big factor in that.
Perfectly fine. But if you can figure out how to get your line, if Ray Gates can figure out how to have his defensive line have a heck of a game, I think that they will put more pressure on Duncanville than they're used to, because I think those North Crowley defensive backs are good. I mean, we watched the game against Crowley.
Even the game against DeSoto.
Pick after pick after pick. They were they're good. North Crowley's defensive backs are good. And that is something that you see DeSoto having DeCorian Moore, and it's like they'll be able to stick with him, but they have to keep with the run game. And that's what makes Duncanville so dangerous, is they're very multiple on the offensive side of the ball as our boss runs through the office.
Was that Tepper or Adam?
It was Adam. The president of our company is running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
Because naturally.
Yeah. Anyway, Duncanville is definitely your favorite. I like a certain matchup perspective for North Crowley, specifically in the defensive backs, and I'm interested to see how their line keeps up.
Yes, I agree. Well, you can kind of look at it as too, is like, how did DeSoto go in and beat Duncanville? Is they got great defensive backs. They were able to shut that down. Can North Crowley kind of replicate that a little bit?
110%. And then on the other side of the bracket, it is Galena Park North Shore and Austin Westlake, 3 p.m. Saturday from the Puff Field in Pflugerville.
Puff Field.
It is what it is. We've seen this matchup multiple times now. I have said all along that I thought that North Shore was the best team in the state. Pound for pound, out of anybody, no, regardless of classification, I think North Shore rocks.
They're so good. I mean, the talent that they possess is just unbelievable.
So good. That being said, I am more hesitant about saying that now than I was for 13 weeks of the season. These last couple of weeks for North Shore have made me a little bit nervous in the fact that they've absolutely clobbered people, but it's the way that they do it, and when you catch a certain team at a certain time, it's going to be bad. Because typically, North Shore goes out, they put up a ton of points,
Pound 'em in the mouth.
they bury you, and you can't dig out of the hole. 2 weeks ago, or for 2 back-to-back weeks, they
started very slow.
Farted around and had to pull it out in the second half. Now, the North Shore machine got back online, but then, like, last week, they went back to burying people and then getting to have their third string go in, and then the points kind of get closer, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing that I do get hesitant about is I don't think that they need to start off slow against Westlake.
No.
Because the Westlake defense is very good.
Very, very
and you
good.
do not want to have to crawl your way out of a hole against the Westlake defense. That's not what you want to do. You want to torch them in the very beginning and put this thing to bed. They do not need to be playing with their food because this Westlake defense is very good.
Yes. I think this North Shore offense has been kind of inconsistent throughout these past couple weeks. I think their defense has been consistent. And if you take a look at this Westlake offense, they're very good. But they're not as explosive as they have been in the past.
They're not world burners.
They're
it's
not
not
world burners. It is a very defensive-heavy Westlake team. And I think that that's a good thing for North Shore because this offense is not super noisy. And I think this North Shore defense is going to be able to shut them down pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think that's how they win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think for North Shore, what you want is to come out strong and just put it away so you don't risk it. Because you don't want the North Shore offense is great, but if they start off slow, it worries me with that Westlake defense.
You don't want to have to play catch up with them.
But I do think that the North Shore defense is much better than the Westlake offense. So I think that's
where your eyes go.
I think that that's the difference between the game, and I think that's how we'll get the 5th rendition of
North Shore
Duncanville North Shore. So, which by the way, like I know every year we get excited about that game. I am a lot more excited about that game this year than I was like last year. And last year's game was a banger.
I am too.
But I want it to happen this year. People are like, aren't y'all sick of that? And it's like, not this year, man. I'm really not sick of that.
No, because there's so much star power everywhere. And these two teams match up so well together.
Willie Gaston's first year at the helm after taking over for John Kay.
Reginald Stample's trying to go back to back.
Yes.
You know, I mean, this is Texas high school football, you know?
Yeah. Samp grabs one, and now he has the opportunity to do it again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's man, it'd be a blast.
It would.
So there you go. There they are. Our picks for all 20 state semifinal games. Favorite show of the year, by far.
Dude,
favorite time of the year.
So much fun.
By far. I wish that I could be in multiple places at once so I could go to more than just 2 games. But we're going to be at Brock Malakoff tonight at the Star. And then we're hitting the road after TFT tomorrow to go to Abilene, head over to ACU at Wildcat Stadium to watch Gunner and Canadian, which that's just one of those bucket list things that I'm so excited to cross off.
And I'm so glad we get to do it together because I feel like we haven't even been at any games together this year because we've been so busy with the show.
Yeah, we've done
a couple of them, but like now we get to go to 2 back.
Yes, together. Correct. Very excited. Shmail will be there. Whatever.
Well, meh.
But anyway, if y'all are there tonight, come say hi. If you're there tomorrow, come say hi. But
Correct.
That's going to do it for us. So this will be our last WTF of the year. We'll bring it back in January. But thank y'all for sticking with us. Sorry we haven't been on for a couple weeks. It's busy around here. But it's our favorite time of the year. Our state hub, the best place to find all the information that your heart could ever even hope for, is texasfootball.com/state. Our goal. Let me say that again. Our goal is to get it up by noon on Sunday. Hopefully it's earlier. If it's a little bit later, it's fine because it was a goal. We've got a lot of stuff to get done before then, but we'll be in here all day Saturday so we can get you all the best comprehensive coverage of everything UIL State on texasfootball.com, texasfootball.com/state. And we hope that you'll become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. There will be more content pumping out of this site in the next 2 weeks than you can ever imagine. It's a great Christmas gift, too.
Oh, yeah.
If you're looking for something to get your husband or your dad or your grandpa, or if you're a guy watching this and your wife loves football like we do, welcome to WTF. We're here every Thursday. But seriously, makes for one heck of a gift. Inexpensive, full year. It's like the Jelly of the Month Club. It just keeps giving. So that'll do it for us. Do you not recognize that?
Jelly for a year?
Jelly of the Month Club from Christmas Vacation.
Oh, the promotion.
Yes.
Correct. I watched that the other night.
Instead of getting his Christmas bonus, he gets the thing to the Jelly of the Month Club, and he goes, the
uncle.
The dumb brother goes, well, at least you get it every month. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Correct.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football TexasFootball.com/subscribe Jelly of the Month Club. Happy holidays. Have a safe time if you're a subscriber. Check your email because we would love to see you at our subscriber meetup before State on the Saturday morning. Check your email and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Go Texas High School football. Enjoy your Jelly of the Month.